going to start recording now. Are we recording, Rhonda?
Yes, ma'am. We are recording.
Okay. So live from Lexington, this is Real Talk. And we are the Work-Life office. There are 4 therapists here and with the Work+Life Connections program and our elder care specialist, Terry. And they're each going to introduce themselves in a minute, but we're really glad you're here. This is the first in a series of Real Talks that we're going to do once a month. So we hope that you can join us moving on. And it is going to be recorded, so you can find it on the Work-Life YouTube site afterwards. If you just think, boy, I want to watch that again, you'll be able to, okay? So right now I thought we would start. First of all, let me tell you that Work+Life Connections, we offer 5 free counseling visits to all UK employees and their family members, and also to retirees. And they are confidential visits that do not go in your personnel file, nor will they be in your medical record, and they are free. And we are currently doing all those through Zoom because there's a pandemic, in case you all haven't heard. So feel free, you can go online to sign up for that. And then we have Terry is our elder care specialist. So if you're taking care of an elder, or maybe you have a spouse with a chronic illness and you need some assistance, she won't take care of your elder, but she'll tell you about services that might be available to help you anywhere in the United States. Which is good because she is currently in Wisconsin. Talk about working remotely. So anyway, we're gonna get this kicked off, and we'll start with the panel members introducing themselves. And Rhonda, why don't you start?
Sure. So I am Rhonda Henry. I'm one of the therapists with Work-Life. I've been with UK for around 8 years, I think, something like that. I was at the VIP Center before, and my background is doing a lot of advocacy, a lot of social justice work, and crime victim advocacy before coming into this role. And I've got I guess, 19-year-old son who is a sophomore at UK. So I'm excited about our program.
Sandy?
I am Cindy Bowling. I'm a licensed clinical social worker here in Lexington and currently work at UK. I've been here almost a year. I think I'm a couple weeks short of my year anniversary. I also do some private practice, and my career has been very varied. I spent a few years doing early intervention, testing birth to 3 population, preschoolers, things like that. I worked I volunteered as a doula for a little while, worked with adolescents who were in mental health treatment, who were pregnant and parenting. And so the value of connection, and now I primarily do trauma work in my private practice. So I'm super excited about talking with people today about parenting. It's something near and dear to me.
Okay. And we even have a male therapist. Eric, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I feel so special. I'm Eric Wilkinson. I'm Eric Wilkinson, and let's see, I have been with UK in some capacity for about 7 years because I've been a part-time instructor in the College of Social Work. I've been in this current position for just a few days, more than a year. I've been doing clinical work in some capacity for about 17 years. The first 10 to 12 years of that time was doing a lot of child adolescent therapy, a lot of family therapy. In terms of interests, I do have I have a real passion for mindfulness-based psychotherapy, existential psychotherapy, use of art and music within therapy. And like Cindy, I also have a lot of training and background working with folks that have experienced trauma.
Thanks, Eric. And Terry is our elder care specialist. Terry?
Hi there. My name is Terry Weber. I am the UK Elder Care Coordinator here on campus and for the hospital. I've been in this position for about 10 years, and pretty much elder care related issues, ask me. We'll see what we can work in together.
Excellent. And I am Ann Bassoni. I'm also a licensed clinical social worker, and I've been with UK about 12 years. And I have experience working in recovery from substance use, families, children, a lot of different things, and I like to use humor in my therapy, and I really am fortunate to be a social worker, and I'm really glad to be hosting Real Talk today. So let's get to it. We're going to start. Like I said, just a reminder, we are recording this, and if you have a question, please put it in the chat box, and I will read it and get our folks to answer those questions. We did have some questions sent in, so I'm going to start with this one because I think it's on the minds of a lot of people, and it you know, the clients that I think we've all been talking to lately are all wondering this, and I'm in my 50s, so I have my readers. The first question is, how do I balance my children doing schoolwork at home and my own work from home? And and I also have an elder that I am responsible for. What in the world do I do then? And so this is, you know, most schools are starting out with the virtual academy, and you all are still working. So our folks are going to give you some thoughts they have about balancing all of that. Rhonda's nodding her head. I know she's got a thought.
Sure, I can start. I think a couple of things that come to mind for me, and I'll leave space so we can all chime in. I think that's one of our hopes, is you can get some different perspectives as we answer these. The things that come to mind for me are focusing in on your own self-care, because, you know, it's sort of the whole, you put the mask on yourself before you're trying to put it on somebody else. If we aren't taking care of ourselves, if we don't have that foundation, it makes it really hard to even have the patience we want, to have the cognitive focus we want, you know, all of those pieces that we're trying to bring to the table. It's real hard to do that when our own bucket feels empty. And so even though it may feel like, okay, I can't figure out how to find time to plug in something for myself, it's sort of part of the path of being able to do that and being able to do it and not lose your mind along the way, honestly. The other piece that comes up for me is the idea of routines, you know, and being able to have some type of routine that works for you and your family. And that's going to look real different for everybody. You know, some people are doing this hybrid, half on campus, half not. Some are fully at home, some are fully on campus. And also knowing that might change over time. And so what that routine looks like today might need to be adjusted in a month, or what it looked like at the beginning of the pandemic might look really different as we're coming into the fall. So I think, you know, finding a routine that works for you and making sure that self-care fits in that routine are part of the pieces that sort of immediately come to mind for me. And I'll bounce it on over to one of our other folks for more on that.
Well, speaking from the elder care side, I don't know if any of you are caring for an elderly parent, either long distance, or maybe just they live on the road, or maybe they live with you. But personally, I think it's a great opportunity for your kids to see how you model what caring and making a commitment looks like and what that's all about. Things that you really need to work on, and this is also for parenting, but also when you are a caregiver for a parent, is you have to be realistic. You have to be realistic what you can do and what you can't do. There's going to be boundaries, and you have to set those. You're going to have to sit down with the family, with your husband, with your spouse, with your partner, and with your kids, depending on how old they are, and say, this is what we're doing. We're making commitment to grandma and grandpa, and we're not maybe going to have all of our time to share with you. We're going to have to, you know, kind of sort that out. But I think that's a great learning opportunity for them to know what that compassion is. But I think, kind of going off what Rhonda said, you need to set your limits, and you really have to face what you can and what you're willing to do. And that's different for everybody.
Thanks.
Anybody else?
Thanks. Cindy?
So I think I agree with everything everybody's already said, but I have found it particularly important to have dedicated space for those things, whether it's kids are doing preschool online, kids are doing like classes online if they aren't already in school, kids are, you know, in school doing the virtual learning, that you for your work and them for their work have a dedicated space for that. Like when we talk about if we have poor sleep, we encourage people like, don't eat in the bed and watch TV in the bed. Like the bed is for sleeping. And so I think in March, most of us landed on our kitchen table, and that's where we tried to make things work. And then it's like we have to push all this aside. But I think our kitchen table should be about together and talking to one another. It shouldn't be a place of, no, you have to leave me alone. No, leave me alone, leave me alone, leave me alone. And, you know, that should still be community space. So I think if you can, to have a dedicated workspace for you, have a dedicated workspace for them, so that at the end of the time that you're spending there, you can walk away from it and, you know, really have a transition out of work and now it's fun time, now it's work time, now, or not work time, but, you know, to spend together. And the other thing is to give yourself some compassion and some grace and let go of normal. Know that if you have a 5-month-old, you're going to have to feed them at some point. And yeah, you can feed them and check emails, but it's okay to like separate and go sit in a chair that you usually feed in and connect with them and do that kind of thing. It's not going to look like it always looked. And so to give yourself grace if your toddler or preschool is spending a little more time than you would like on screens, you may just need that to get through. And to know that this is temporary, it's changing all the time, but we don't know how temporary it is. So to know that, to let go of normal, to communicate what you need, to know that it's okay to parent, it's okay to be a parent and have a job, and you can do those things at the same time. It just may be that your schedule needs to look like, I'm working really early in the morning and now I need to work a little bit after the kids go to bed, but I'm giving them my time at a time they need it. And so to really be flexible and compassionate with yourself and notice when the worry comes up of what's my supervisor going to say, what's UK going to say, what's my spouse or partner going to say, what are these kids trying to say to me, those things, and deal with those feelings as they come.
Eric, I'm going to let you start maybe on answering some of these questions. I just got one in the chat box. And if I'm putting you on the spot, just, you know, punt. So we have somebody asking, what kind of support and understanding can we expect from UK with regards to making adjustments to our schedule? Danielle, little girl, you want to talk? You can ask us any question. Anyway, Eric's going to answer first.
Well, I mean, I think one thing that I certainly just using the Work Anywhere website, I think it's a good starting place. So you can kind of see, you know, there's a manual for both for employees and supervisors. And so being able to kind of see what has been mapped out on a university level for expectations so that you're informed. I always like to start from a position of informed consent and informed awareness when you're having conversations. And so, you know, first educating yourself kind of like what the game plan is. I think just being open and transparent with your supervisors about asking them what are your expectations, what do you, you know, what should the work day look like? Letting them know what, you know, kind of proactively any challenges that you may have, and say, this is what I think could be difficult, and this is how I'm planning to, you know, handle this situation, so that you have an open conversation with them, ideally proactively, and just establishing expectations, you know, checking in. If you have concerns, bringing that to them and just saying, I have concerns about, you know, managing work with this personal situation. And the more that you can kind of engage in that collaborative approach, I think the better the chances are for success in being able to do telework.
Thanks, Eric. Anybody else?
I just wanted to kind of add that I think the communication is key in that, and not to shy away from like communicating and asking for what you need. And also knowing that your supervisor is, you know, doing their part to communicate and ask for what they need for their team. And so I think as clear as we can be in understanding what our own needs are and being able to say, like, these are the barriers, and coming to your supervisor with possible solutions, so that, you know, they feel like you kind of get their perspective and you can help them understand your perspective hopefully collaboration and compromise can happen. But yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else want to chime in? Terry, because sometimes you get that same question about caring for elders.
Right, and it's primarily the same situation. I mean, you just have to be transparent and keep talking to your supervisor, letting them know what you need to do, and hopefully coming up the schedule that can follow through.
One point I would like to add, if that's okay, is I agree with all those things. And I would just add that because there's so many changing sort of dynamics going on as we're all figuring out this pandemic and how to survive it the best we can, it can be that things change a little bit or you're not sure about where we left things. With that communication part, it can also help, I think, to follow up with your supervisor, to send a message, an email to say, here's my understanding of our conversation. Here's what I think we're doing, just to make sure we're both on the same page. I think it's the time to almost over communicate, and I think Cindy made great points around that. But I think just even having that something in writing, especially if it was just a verbal discussion you had, can just be good kind of backup for both of you to remember, where did we land on this?
Great. All right. And I want to give a shout out to little Evelyn, who likes to join in on calls with her mom. And I think this is a perfect example of sometimes you have to do things and your kids will be with you. And look at how nicely young Evelyn is sitting there just chomping down on, I don't know, goldfish or probably, because that's a yummy snack. But, how many of you have teenagers? Just raise your hand. Okay, so we got some teens, mostly little kids, grade school age, or some babies too. Because I know Megan's hiding a baby down there somewhere. Gotcha. All right. All right. So we do have another question. In addition to being a working parent myself, I support the faculty in the College of Agriculture. Are there ways that I can help set a good example and show the faculty with kids that the college administration understands things are tough right now, and that the college wants to support them so that they feel more comfortable having these discussions with their supervisors and coworkers? Oh, and making use of UK's great resources. So how do you set an example and share your experiences and maybe resources that others might not know about?
I don't mind to start with that one. Couple of things that come to mind for me is partially just sort of the examples from the top down. Are we talking about this issue? Is everyone sort of pretending that and Lord, if I never hear this phrase again, it's too soon, but our new normal, realizing it's got to include childcare, elder care, other responsibilities that we have. So being even just willing to talk about that, maybe creating space where we're happy to come in, and do a discussion with your folks, not about their specific situations, but, what those stressors look like and ways to manage that. I think, not ignoring it is a big part just on its own, that we are willing to talk about that here. And then I think, some of our limits that we allow other people to set, sometimes we have those unspoken sort of assumptions that, my boss expects me to answer emails, no matter if I'm already off work or whatever it is. Being willing to put words to some of that, being able to say, no, Mary, I know that you've got kids, are you taking your time off? Are you, really being able to be with your family when you need to? Or even asking those questions in one-on-ones, what kind of flexibility do you need? With the assumption of, I know you're going to need some flexibility because we all do right now. What kind of flexibility do you need? And sort of inviting that conversation. Because I think sometimes it's hard to know kind of how to start. And when we've got that power difference, it's sometimes hard to go to a boss or somebody who's in a position of authority in the department to be able to bring that up. So I think the more we can have that coming from all different corners, I think is helpful.
I think sharing whatever resources I mean, if you know the work-life resources, share them with folks, because folks may need some childcare, they may need elder care assistance. They may not know that that's even available or that's something that's out there. So share and spread the resources amongst your folks, amongst your colleagues.
All right. Whew. Rachel's got an 8-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 2-year-old. Good luck to you, sister.
Yeah.
We hope that
twin boys. Anna has twin boys.
Where's the twin? Oh, I didn't even. Oh, twin boys seem to be
twin boys to be
1-year-old.
Woo!
You peoples. glad you guys are all here. And we have a teenage 11-year-old soon to be 12. Those are the tween years. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then we have somebody else who is supporting some family in Venezuela, and stress there is 100% of every day. You know, I think that's a good point. You know, we keep in mind that we all have different stress, you know, and whether it is here or, you know, in the United States or somewhere else. And we're not always sure what people are dealing with. So I think it's going to be real important moving ahead that we give grace to everybody, that we realize we're all really doing the best we can right now. And if you have a concern or your coworker upsets you or something, talk to them, find out what's going on, because I think the other therapists can back me up when I say that everybody I'm talking to lately is feeling stress or anxiety or sadness. I mean, it's all over the place.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you know, stress is one of those things. It can just create a whole bunch of other problems down the road. And although I know it sounds like self-care and trying to take some time for yourself is a luxury, but it's really not a luxury. It's a necessity.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take some time out of every day for yourself. If it's hiding in the bathroom, in the shower, that's one thing. And maybe that's what you have to do. But
With the water on or off?
what?
If we're in the shower, should we have the water on or off?
Well, personally, I would like it on. So
Okay.
if I'm
All right.
screaming or crying, nobody can hear me. The idea is that you need to take some time, whatever that is for you. But it really isn't a luxury. It needs to be a necessity, part of breathing almost.
Yeah, and Eve, I saw the first part of your post that you have twin boys who are 5 and a 1-year-old. I think it's particularly hard when you have that age discrepancy, like the twins might be in kindergarten and the 1-year-old needs, you know, that nurturing play and things like that. I think for your situation, self-care is absolutely essential. And, you know, if you have those responsibilities, the family in Venezuela, to, you know, spend some time with your kids, like making things to send to them so they feel connected, and that can bring some understanding as to why maybe we can't do X, Y, and Z, because, you know what, we're helping out our family, you know, financially in this way, and, you know, really bringing education and connection to that culture for them and what's going on. But I can tell you're off to do like big things in your math, and my heart's racing a little bit for you. So
I know.
for whatever you can to like get in the self, take care of yourself, you know, connect like the responsibilities to you that you have in an age appropriate way, so your kids can understand what that means and that they can be empathetic and caring and those kind of things. Not to share the stress, but to understand it as much as they can. Yeah.
Thanks, Cindy. I didn't see the first part of the question, so I was doing my best to understand the second part. See, we all have to help each other out.
Right.
Ron's got
Hey, Ann, can I add one thing about the stress, just the stress component? I think also like being able to celebrate and savor successes, small successes. So celebrating successes throughout the day can really acknowledge, you know, all right, that went, you know, decently well, or, you know, or that was a good conversation, or giving yourself a high five. Being playful also is a great, you know, just introducing play with your kids. So finding little moments to be playful, finding opportunities to joke with your partner, if you have a partner, sharing those moments, but really trying to bring both celebration of your small successes and bring play throughout your day. This can help diffuse stress. If you just are getting kind of the mindset, you're just going to push through, I'm just going to push through this, I'm going to, you know, just grind through this, then that stress can really become overwhelming. So giving yourself opportunities to just, you know, be spontaneous.
Rhonda, did you want to add something?
Just one small point with just the financial resources piece. At least in Fayette County, there's one central page. If you Google COVID resources, Fayette County, it's kind of one central spot with all sorts of different financial support that's available. But it's just a good kind of one-stop shop if you're looking for something specific.
Can you type that in the chat box? so
Yeah,
people
I will
can
do that.
write that down?
I'm happy to do that.
Let's see. Oh, there's another
I'd like
set
to
of
give a shout out to Ashley and her 11-month-old Labradoodle.
I know, I was just going for
I mean, that's right there taking care of a child in itself, is a new puppy.
And they can bounce like, we love the Labradoodle. And Enif is like, she's taking us into surgery. I'm starting to get a little nervous or something. I'm not sure what's happening, but we're ready.
Yes,
Are we ready?
I'm gonna start a case in the OR. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, good for
That's
you.
why.
And
Well, good luck.
And I love Brittany's picture because she's smiling, and I just feel like we're nailing every question. So thanks, Brittany. We do have another question. Do you all have any specific tips for parents on how to not micromanage kids during virtual academy? So how to get them motivated, how to get them to do what they need to do, and you know, stay on task, because this is an NTI this year. It's going to be online learning. You know, it's not those packs that they send home like we saw last year. So what are your all's thoughts on keeping everyone on task? I mean, we might even ask Danielle, because look at little Evelyn. She's just sitting there like she's done this her whole life.
She's doing the work. She's doing the
She
thing.
is. She is.
I actually just changed our, it's interesting that you say the dining room is like a place for like gathering and getting together and chatting, but I don't know where else to do this at necessarily, because I'm in our dining room right now, but we have shelves set up also in the dining room. So I'm trying to take the computer over. So
Oh, yeah.
these two, and so she will work parallel with me sometimes.
Oh, nice.
So I don't know if
Great
that's
idea.
something that is an option for school age or not, and it might depend on your kid and everything else too, but it has been working fairly well for us lately. In the other room, she also so she has peanuts, raisins, and Cheerios at the moment, and so she has a self-help area in the kitchen where she just went and got herself a little snack. And then once the snack is gone for the morning, then it's gone for the morning, and that's what she ate for her morning snack, and then she has to wait for her lunch before I get anything else.
Myself.
Yeah, I know, me too. No, I kind of do it as well. When I prep hers, I prep mine too. So she can kind of wander around the house, but a lot of times she's either prepping snack, working with water, which is also an option in the kitchen, or is working on something on the shelves. And I put something new out every day. I rotate it out.
Great idea.
Yeah, I mean, we're 2 weeks into trying it. It's working so far. Once the novelty wears off, I don't know. So we'll see.
Thanks, Danielle.
Yeah.
So what came up for me about like older kids and not micromanaging them? I don't know if you said an age, but what popped into my head was like middle to high school. So I'm a big believer in once kids hit like 11, 12, 13, they need to be a part of like family discussions about expectations and scheduling and what is tied to those expectations. So I think to have a family meeting and sit down and be like, okay, this is my schedule and this is what I'm responsible for. And what's your schedule? Like, and knowing where everybody's supposed to be generally, and I know it doesn't always work, but I'm a big believer in natural and logical consequences. Like, you know what the expectations are, you know what you need to have done by Friday, and like, if it's not done by Friday, like, you know, I'm gonna need the phone until it's done, or I'm gonna need this, you know, so to have like, so that you don't have to have those conversations 18 times. Like, we sat down, we've written it out, you have given your thoughts on it, we've negotiated on what we could negotiate on, and then kind of finding a way to manage your own anxiety about like, they may work better from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. than they work from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., you know, and to know that, okay, like if they work better because every paper I ever wrote or typed or whatever happened in the middle of the night when nobody was up, whether I was still living at home, whether I was living with roommates, whether I was living by myself, like that's when I could finally stop procrastinating with other things to do and just do it. And so if they come to you and say, I really work better, like, well, you have to be online for XYZ. And so work that in, but managing your own anxiety and worry about them not getting done what they're going to get done, and let the consequences handle it. I mean, to the extent, like some kids need extra support, like if you know that's true, or the consequences are piling up and they're just not getting it done, to come back together and say, okay, what do you need? This isn't working. What do you need? You know, that's my 2 cents on that.
All right.
And I'll just add two thoughts. One, I think that if you can have a dry erase board with visual calendars for both for you and for your children, that can be really helpful. So that the day is kind of mapped out. You can also add in when, if you have the capacity to have a bigger kind of dry erase board calendar where you have due dates, so there is an understanding of when things need to be accomplished. I think that can be helpful. Just being able to look and see, what do I have in front of me today? What do I have that I need to complete at different times? It can be very useful. The other thing is especially with your younger kids, I think communication with teachers this year is going to be so important. And so being able to kind of, again, collaborate with teachers on strategies. I know that younger children are going to need more movement breaks. They're going to need more opportunities to do hands-on stuff. And so a lot of this is we're kind of figuring it out as we go with virtual academy and school at home. And so as much as you can partner and communicate with your teachers, I think that will help direction in working with your younger ones.
Good suggestions. Good. We have somebody else who is saying that there's people on her team that don't know what it looks like to be at home, caring for kids, working, and kind of balancing all that. And saying, how do you let your teammates know what your home life looks like, and that you're not slacking or not giving 110%, but that maybe you're working later in the evening or earlier in the day? And how do you communicate that with them? Or is it any of their business?
Mind your business.
Mind your business.
Real talk right there.
There's things we'd like to say.
Yes.
Cindy, you got your hand up.
Oh, me? Sure, I could talk all day on this one.
But we don't have all day, just a little while.
Right. So I'll just take a couple minutes. So I think that is definitely something that I get worried about. I think I talked about this on a presentation yesterday. But I think that you have to kind of just look at yourself and be like, am I doing what I need to do? Am I accountable for my work? Am I getting my work done? That sort of thing. Because I think in stressful times, it's real easy to like point at other people and think they have it easier than you, or like it's easier for me because I don't have full time, or I don't have to do that all the time. But then it's like, at least you guys have people to like talk to and this and that. So the grass is always greener kind of pops up for me. I think to the best of your ability to communicate, like, these are my plans. And if I don't get back to you in a certain amount of time, that means that I had to go attend to this person or this person, but I will get back to you. And I think you can only, let people know, communicate with them, like what your schedule is, like when I'm at my computer. If I'm delayed getting back to you, I will get right back to you, that sort of thing. But you don't have to apologize for your life. Ultimately, I think you have to know that you're doing the best you can and you're getting your work done, and they're doing the best they can, and they're probably hating on you because they're real stressed. So I think that you just kind of have to know that you don't have to apologize for your life. You're doing the best that you can. You have to take care of, yourself and your kids or family that's outside the house, or worry about how do we keep everybody safe because we're essential workers, and we're, those kind of things. There are just so many things on our minds these days. And to do your best to communicate, but don't feel like you have to explain to people if they don't get it or see it your way.
And one thing I would just add to that, just
Real
really
quick, 'cause we got a lot of questions coming in.
it's just real short. It's just that we all have these doubts that we're not doing enough, and we all have concerns about how others might perceive how we're doing. And the reality is, most of the time, people are focused on their own work. They're not really focused on you or what you're doing. If you ever need feedback, you can always reach out to your supervisor or to get some of that feedback. But most of our expectations that we place on ourselves are usually very unrealistic, and they're not the expectations that others hold for us typically.
Good point. Good point. Does anyone have any tips for helping grandparents feel involved? Right now we've got grandparents that are maybe in other parts of the country, or because of COVID, they can't visit and keep in touch. So Megan was wondering, how do you involve grandparents, or really any family, with your family, especially if it's a baby, a newborn? How do you keep them involved besides like video chat type of things?
I have just a couple of little things, and
Hold
I'll
on, Terry's got an idea first.
go ahead, Terry.
Oh, I thought you were, okay, sorry.
My idea quickly is I would have them get involved by, you're right, she's only I think it's she, right, Megan? Okay. She is only 5 months old now, but still they like to hear sounds. So if grandma and grandpa sing, or if grandma and grandpa could read a very basic book like Goodnight Moon, The Big Red Barn, any one of those books that maybe they read to you, and record those. And just, the idea is she'll get that in her head. She'll hear those sounds. I feel so bad for your parents, though. I can't imagine not meeting my grandbaby, right away. Oh, gosh. But anyhow, I would try to get them incorporated by reading to them and recording those, keeping those for her when she's older, too. That's my idea.
And I'll tag on that I have a niece who is about 2.5, and I've been recording reading books to her. And then what my sister-in-law does, because my brother is kind of like, you guys do your thing, is there's that Marco Polo app where you can kind of record live, and she will record Lila like, oh, Auntie Annie, I love it, or something like that. So we're getting that back and forth, and she's getting to know me, I'm getting to know her a little bit. But Cindy, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, I think that tangible things are helpful. So like we might send pictures on our phone, but to print them out and have them sent. Even like do like a little paint her foot and stick it on a card every month as she gets the next month older, so they can kind of see the growth progression. Just to have a great idea to sit around to look at that is like shows you kind of how big she is or how much she's growing, because it's hard to see. Well, it's pretty easy to see in babies because they change so fast, but I think just to have things that when they're missing you and her, they can pull them up, look at the cards, see, those kind of things. That was my suggestion.
And I like the picture idea, and I don't know if y'all know, but there's an app called Free Prints, and you can get like 68 free prints every month. And you can get multiple copies and send them, and that's what my brother and sister-in-law are doing for my mom. And I just print out random stupid stuff.
Do you put that on the website, Ann?
I can.
App on the website for people.
Okay. And Ashley wanted us to remember that UK Healthcare Integrative Medicine has some great resources, and that's the truth. And a lot of them are free. Some of them are a little, cost a little bit, but it is a great resource. It's over, is it the Combs building, Ashley? Where they're at? She's kind of nodding her head.
Yeah, but they've also put a lot of videos and different things on their website as well.
Yes. Thanks for reminding us about that.
If you check out the UK Elder Care website, I just talked to Marilyn over there, and she sent me several different videos for meditations. They're little 5-minute videos that you can check out and do. They're also having free 30-minute Reiki sessions, self-help massage sessions, and something else free for UK families until the end of the year. So take advantage of that, heck.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get that up and I can put that on the chat box.
Rhonda, did you want to add anything?
I lost track of which question we were in. I was thinking about integrative medicine. Sorry.
Oh, okay, that's all right.
I was-
We'll get back to you.
Okay.
Franny thought this was really helpful, but she had to leave. And Molly thinks Danielle has some awesome ideas. That's great. And Danielle's talking about using a Montessori-inspired home. Lots of resources. And and this is, I'm glad you put this, Danielle. There is a parent group on Facebook that is, you can join. And Faith, I know that you are also a part of it. What's the name of the group on Facebook, Faith? I should know
It
this.
is UK Working Parents. I'll post a link in the chat.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. Let's see. Oh, and Ashley said that when she talked about the daily schedule during breakfast, it worked well for the girls and her in the spring. Her older daughter manages her own schedule, like you suggested. And I love this. She helped her younger one write out a daily schedule and posted it on her home office door. So there again is the visuals kind of things. Let's see. Love that message. Does anyone know if there have been efforts to align students, such as College of Ed, who need practicum hours or something similar, with students that need tutored or parents that need help with their K-12 kids? And that was a question we got, was like, what do I do if I don't know how to help my student? Like I saw on Facebook, somebody's like, this new math, my kid's not learning it. They're learning the old math, and I love that. I mean, you teach what you know, but is there anything, I don't know.
I'm not
I
aware.
haven't heard.
And I thought, I'm not sure if Zetta's still on. I didn't know if she would know if there was anything, but I'm not aware of anything specifically there, but I think it's a really good idea.
We're
As
still
Zetta
listening.
is the director, is the manager of Work+Life, and she's a faculty college.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have not, that has come up a couple of times, and it's one of those kind of, you are doing a whole lot of things right now. But if someone had some interest in working with us to coordinate something like that, that would be amazing. But that is an idea that has come up. What we're currently using is our Big Blue Family Care Program. And so there's a lot of requests coming that way. And if you guys are not familiar with Big Blue, it's initially was an occasional babysitter type nanny opportunity, usually nanny during the summer, maybe more full time. But a lot of the students, because so many of them have online classes, and some of them maybe their whole class schedule or half their schedules are online, they have a lot more flexibility in their schedule than they normally would. So if you are interested in having assistance with, childcare during the day, you're welcome to submit a request via Big Blue. Now, of course, this is a program that we operate with UK students based on their availability. So it's not one of those guaranteed you're going to get someone, you can submit a request and we'll see what we have available, and then we'll make referrals to you, send you referrals of students to reach out to. So it's just one more option to look at. And of course, we know at this point what we're finding, because we've been doing a lot of research and looking around to try to figure out what we can do to assist families. It is so slim, and you guys know this. This is definitely a challenging time for families with children and trying to find resources and even affordable resources. So we're looking into a lot of different options, and at the end of the day, it's one thing I've been encouraging is the flexible work arrangement types of options, because even if you do find a tutoring service, it may be that it's out of your budget, So if you can definitely, like they said earlier, kind of be proactive and work with your supervisor on what you need and what will be helpful to you, and also note that might change from week to week. Just kind of upfront, just keep communicating, over communicating about what you need, and that may be one of the best ways to go to approach this. But we are starting to collect more and more information, and we're posting some of the stuff through our Facebook page, and some things will be posted on our website as we get more info. We have been also reaching out to summer camps to see if any of them are interested or considering offering any type of fall camps, like fall day camps, even if it's just partial day, all day, something. And some of them are looking into that. So, but they are in the developmental phase for many of that. We only have maybe 2 or 3 that already have it figured out. So if you want to keep checking back on our website and join our Facebook group, we'll definitely be posting every time we get an update on something. We're just posting it all there immediately because that's a quick way to get information out. So yeah, we completely get it's a lot. Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Appreciate that. And I think we all just witnessed Rachel laying down the law with one of her kids. She's like, let's see. Lots of good resources. Ooh, for older kids, have the grandparents and kids do art together on this link that she put up there. Can aunties and kids do that too? Lynn, I like that.
Anybody can do it. Yeah. Mo Williams also had a series that he did in the spring, and my mom and my two daughters, both the 8 and 13-year-old, enjoyed getting on each day. They got on for like an hour on Zoom and did that, and they had a little booklet that they used every single day so they could see their artwork. And when they finished his series, they moved over to this YouTube channel and did it as well. And then my other mother-in-law has started doing Zoom cooking classes with the girls and teaching her favorite recipes.
So it keeps them occupied. They're forming connections, but you get them in it.
Yeah, and she's actually in town, but when we weren't ready to really be to be together, she wanted to do it on Zoom, and she's been recording it so we can go back and watch it later too.
That's so cool. That's such a great idea. And I mean, just what a cool thing, even down the road, to be able to kind of go back to that. I just love that. Such a good idea.
And their cousins are in Missouri, so they're able to connect them into it as well.
Also, one other idea that we've done, and this is something I did with my son when I would travel, but I think it would work well in this situation as well, doing photo scavenger hunts. And so we would put together a list of 10 things, and we're all looking for it, and we have a group text, and again, for kids that are old enough to sort of manage that, but even being able to say, okay, what was our blue thing that we found today, and like everybody's kind of showing or putting that in the group. So I think any of those things where there's some interactive piece, because it gives us not only that moment that we're sharing, but as we're doing the things, we're still thinking about this. We're being really mindful and kind of present to, oh, I can't wait to show Nana this picture or to show this thing that I found today.
Excellent. So, boy, time flies when we're having fun, and I am so glad that you all joined us for this first event. We will have, if you go to our website, we're going to do this monthly. It's not always about parenting. I think the next one, we're doing one about depression, managing depression, about anxiety, about getting better sleep. If there's a topic that you would like us to do something on, feel free to send it to me or one of us, or just to the Work+Life website, and we will try and do it. But I was just going to ask the panel to share just a few final thoughts before we part. And Eric, why don't you go first?
Okay. Well, I think this is a time where it's so important for us to really generate kindness towards ourselves, compassion towards ourselves, patience with ourselves. I think that the more we can do that, the more we're available to our families, the more that we're available to our work. But most importantly, when we are practicing kindness or saying kind things to ourselves, it just generally makes everything more manageable. And I was just thinking of a couple things that I remind myself that may be helpful to some folks. Almost every day I think to myself, and I'll do the best I can, and that's all I can do. And I remind myself. I also remind myself that we learn by making mistakes. And so it feels like right now there is, with all the new routines being developed and all the new ways of being, there's way more mistakes because there's way more learning. And then finally, something that helps me is I just take an approach where I think I'm curious about what today is going to bring. So this kind of openness to let's see what unfolds today. It helps me encounter situations with a little bit less apprehension.
Thanks, Eric. Those are good. Very good. Cindy's got her hand up. She likes that hand thing.
What?
Your hand's up again.
I did not raise a hand. I don't know what's happening. Maybe you have to acknowledge me. Way. So I guess final thoughts would be just take care of yourself. Don't feel bad for taking care of other people too. And I think with everything shifting as it is, there's a lot of talk of like, what's this doing to kids? What is it doing to us? And I think modeling, as much as like we can deal with our own stuff with our spouse or partner or with friends or with a therapist or whomever that might be, if we wear the mask and act like it's not the worst thing in the world, kids will come along. Kids are resilient. Kids like really roll with things better than we do. So if we can just kind of model and, even if it's false confidence that, we're going to get through it, like this is what we're going to do and this is why we've got to do it, and explain things to kids fully with the truth all the time, but in an age appropriate way. Don't feel like you have to protect them. Just tell them, what it is in a way that they can understand. And I think that will help them not have anxiety, not worry about their big people who they come in contact with. So that's kind of my final thoughts.
Thanks, Cindy. Rhonda or Terry?
Sure, I'll jump in, but Cindy, can I ask you to go back to one thing that you've talked about before, which is the breathing, the dragon breathing, because I wanted to be sure you mentioned it today, and I forgot about that one.
So we were talking about like kids who might be frustrated, or whether it's with what they're doing on the computer, or they just seem to be mad, or they just seem to be out of sorts. There's all kinds of ways that you can adapt breathing for them. And when my goddaughter and I did an itty bitty yoga class, we learned a dragon breathing, and basically it's like pausing, recognizing you seem frustrated, you seem angry. Let's take this deep breath, like as much air as we can get in our body, and then and they get to make this crazy face and stick their tongue out. And it's a great way to like release, that pent up frustration in a way that is helpful to them, but also I think is fun. And she learned that when she was 3 and still uses it now when she's 8. So it made an impression.
And it was just, Cindy had talked about that one day in a training we were doing, and it seemed like such a good, kind of tool to use here too. I think, my final thoughts, I think, would be thinking, I keep kind of going back to that earlier question we had about when you're feeling judged within your group, or you're feeling like you're not doing enough, that guilt that comes up. And I think one thing I would suggest is making sure you've got sort of your support people. And those might not be the people that you're working with. Those might be somebody else who understands what it's like to be a working parent, a single parent, dealing with kids and little bitties and, older kids both, or whatever that is. But I think it can give you a chance to get that little bit of a reality check. I know for me, I've got my other moms that I kind of check in with stuff, and I'm like, okay, if they tell me I'm doing a good job, if they can sort of give me that validation, okay, those are the people I respect, and I know they understand what those challenges are. So sometimes just having that reality check, and also not putting so much pressure on ourselves to overcommit with work things out of that feeling of guilt. I worry that I'm being seen as not doing enough, so therefore I'm going to tell you I can get all this work turned out by, tomorrow at noon. Well, no, that's probably not realistic, or I've taken on something else that I just can't, it's outside of my scope, or whatever it is. But just being cautious that we don't, in our desire to kind of muffle that guilt or bring that down some, that we don't end up overcommitting or causing more stressors for ourselves, I think, in that way. And the last point I'd say is keeping in mind what you're taking in, whether it's social media, whether it's news, whatever's coming in the house, being aware, of how much news the kids are sort of listening to. I think, again, there's age-appropriate conversations to have, but, do we need the news on 24/7 in the background? Probably not. It's not good for any of us. On your social media, are you following, accounts that are supportive, accounts where you can get some sort of positive, both positive sort of support, but also good information or good tips, other things with parents that maybe see things the way you do, that can be just a good outlet.
Thanks, Rhonda. Terry?
Final thought is just give yourself a break. I mean, we are all in this together. This is all new. Nothing, a year ago, think of where you were a year ago as to compared to now. Holy Toledo. So just give yourself a break, and don't forget, all right. Give yourself a break, and don't forget to do some self-care. 5 minutes a day, whatever you want to do for yourself. Like I said, go in the shower, cry, scream, sing, whatever.
Yeah. Well, folks, we are really glad you're here. And I will just say, try to find a way to laugh every day. Talk to somebody that you enjoy talking to, watch America's Funniest Home Videos. I'm sure you can go to Ashley's and play with the Labradoodle.
Yes.
Pets are wonderful. You can go to Rhonda. She has a new little kitten that's just adorable. Yeah, just remember this is a difficult time, and what we normally could handle without thinking about might take a little extra. So just be gentle with yourself and keep shining. And we hope to see you back here at Real Talk next month. Thanks, guys. Everybody have a great day.
Bye.